I talked to Hank today. He said, you're so dressed up, you make me look bad. And I said, well, no. And here's the thing. I'm wearing the shirt for a reason. I'm modeling our new youth shirts for the year. And so if you see someone wearing this shirt, odds are they're either in the youth group or, there's the back, or they're involved in the youth group in some way. They're an adult leader or something like that. So if you see someone in the shirt, say hi to them. How you doing? And it's a bull, if you can't tell, and for the Gospel of Luke. It's a winged bull, and it's blue, and it says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And that's from the Gospel of Luke. So that's my modeling bit. My name is Doug Devor. I'm the Christian Ed Director here at church. Most of you know me, but if you don't, hi, I'd like to get to know you. But it's a fancy title that really just means I get to teach people about God every day. And I feel so blessed that I'm able to do that. I really, truly do. It's an awesome thing. And I get to stand up here and talk to you guys for like a whole 20 minutes, and you have to listen to me. And I think what I have to say is good, so we'll see if it works out. I think it will. So I'm getting into this habit of writing my sermons on Saturday morning, or Saturday afternoon, or sometimes Saturday, the day before. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but so this time I did it on Friday, okay? So I'm getting better about it. And so I had to work Friday. I work part-time in a restaurant. I'm a cook. But I worked Friday, and so I had to do it in the morning, my sermon writing in the morning. And so I usually go to Chipotle to plan out my sermons. But I figured Chipotle is probably not the best breakfast food. And so I went instead to Waffle House, which I really like, where I wrote my sermon. And apparently I went there for a reason, because whenever I go to a place like Waffle House, it's not like in a great neighborhood, great part of town. I went there intending to buy a meal for someone that was near me or something. I'll go and I'll buy someone some waffles or whatever. They pay for their meal or something like that. And turns out some guy that sat next to me, he ended up paying for my meal and telling me about Jesus and giving me the book that he had written himself. It's called God Can't Do That When the Supernatural Becomes Natural. And so now I have to read his book, and there's his picture with his dog right there on the back. And I thought that was amazing, because I went somewhere randomly and wanted to buy someone their breakfast. And someone ended up buying my breakfast and serving me. And it's just a testament to what God is able to do, what God's capable of. And so I thought that was awesome. And that's not even what my sermon's about. I mean, we're not even into the good stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is what God can do. Really cool. The Waffle House guy, I don't remember his name. Well, it's probably on the front. Tom Schuler. That's it. Anybody know Tom Schuler? He's in Columbus, I guess. Cool. So the sermon today is called Not For Me, and that's the name of it. And so there's this saying, it's not for me. You guys have heard this, like, it's not you. Okay, so say, hey, Doug, do you want any raisin bread? And I say, no, not for me. Doesn't mean that raisin bread is a bad thing, just means that I, personally, don't want any raisin bread. Hold the raisin bread, please. No thanks. Or you could say, hey, Doug, do you want to go skiing, downhill skiing? And I'm afraid of skiing. And so I get invited, and I say, not for me. No thanks, not for me. It's a polite way to say, that's an okay thing for you, but for me, I'm going to do me. I'm going to do my thing, and you go ahead and do your raisin bread and skiing or whatever you want to. Not for me. And so how many of you guys have used this before? Not for me. Have used this? Yeah, okay, so a few hands. I wondered if I was the only person, then no one would understand my sermon. And so, and so we're going to talk about that, but keep it in the back of your mind, this saying, this not for me saying. So when we think about this, who was here in church last Sunday? Anybody here? Okay, yeah, a few of you, half of you. Okay, so Pastor Charlie showed the ice bucket challenges on the screen, which is cool. And I did one. Spoiler alert, I got ice dumped on me. And this is the thing, if you're not familiar with, but for Lou Gehrig's disease, they're raising money for it. And so people are dumping ice buckets on their head, is basically my understanding of it. If you get nominated to do the challenge, You have to either dump ice on your head or donate money, and then you nominate 3 more people. And in this way, it's exponentially reaching massive amounts of people for a terrible disease, which is great. But at first, I saw all these people dumping ice buckets on their head, and I watched these videos, and I was just like, not for me. Not for me. And many of you watch the video, and I'm never going to do that. But then someone nominates you, and you're kind of like, maybe I will dump the ice bucket on my head. But here's the thing, and here's my soapbox. A lot of people are naysayers about this whole ice bucket challenge. Oh, these kids and why they're doing their ice buckets. And how many of you guys did it? Anybody in here? Yeah, we got like 10 of you. Okay, good. But there are people that said, well, I don't get the point, and why are they dumping ice buckets on their head? And the whole thing just seems kind of, maybe just immature or stupid or something. Here's some statistics for you. Last year, for Lou Gehrig's disease, which is called ALS, donations for this month, or the month of August, were $2.6 million. And this year, the donations for the month of August, I would like to say that they doubled it, but they did a lot more than that. Instead of $2.6 million, they received $88.6 million. $88.6 million. Because of awareness, okay? And this is how the whole thing started. One guy, who's a former baseball player, okay, decided that he was going to dump a bucket of ice on his head and nominate 3 people. But what if all 3 of those people said, not for me. Hold the raisin bread. Not for me, okay? Then we wouldn't have this whole big thing. And all of this money wouldn't have been donated to this great cause. Not for me. Interesting. Keep that in your mind. These Bible verses that we read, that Hank read for us, are about giving, okay? They're about giving. So they use words like, here's a phrase from one. It says, give generously, from Deuteronomy. And it also says, share freely. That's from Deuteronomy. And then 2 Corinthians says, give according to what you have, okay? So what are the verses talking about? Well, we always talk about 2 Corinthians. We're always talking about what? Give according to what you have. We're always talking about, who knows about Johnny Manziel with his thing? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Or is this falling on deaf ears? Johnny Manziel's a backup quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and he does his money sign. This is his, okay. Give generously for what you have, of what you have. We're thinking about money, but is that what the verse is really about? Maybe. This is what it says. It's talking about Jesus, and it says, though he was rich, he became poor. It uses that line to back up the give generously. We should give generously according to what we have because Jesus was rich, and then he became poor. And I'm thinking, I know a little bit about the Bible, I think, and I asked around to a couple people who knew a little bit about the Bible, and I'm trying to find out where in the Bible Jesus goes home to his mansion. His rich mansion. Because here's the thing, Jesus didn't have money. That's not a little known fact that he was a very poor person. Okay, he did not have money. But the Bible says, though he was rich, he became poor. So it's apparent that this verse is not necessarily talking about money, okay? So if we're giving generously of what we have, then what are we actually really talking about? If it's not money, then what is it? This isn't rhetorical. I'm actually asking you right now what this Bible verse is about. Give generously of what we have. Love is good. What else? Time is good, yeah. This side's beating you. Help. Got to get one from over here too. Time, love, help. Talent, comfort, yes. These are all things that we can give generously because guess what? We have them. We have love. We have talent. We have comfort. We're able to give that to other people. And so coincidentally, this is why I'm up here, not only because Pastor Charlie's on vacation right now, a well-deserved one. I think he went to a baseball game, posted pictures on Facebook. I also get to talk to you because we went on a mission trip to West Virginia. Me and some members from the presbytery. Also, Charlie Wells went. Are you here, Charlie? Somewhere? Raise your hand. There he is, Charlie Wells, me and him, we were the representatives from our church. And we got to go on this great mission trip. So we were giving generously of our time and love and comfort and all those things to these people who we were serving. And I want to tell you a little bit about the mission trip and what we did. We went to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and there's a legend, a local legend in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Who knows what the legend is? What is it? Yes, it's the name that they refer to it as is the Mothman, okay? And this local legend is apparently a man-sized moth who frightens the town and flies around and terrifies young children. And so when we heard where we were going and I saw the thing about the Mothman, I was kind of like, not for me. No thanks, mission trip. Not trying to meet a giant moth guy. And here's the other thing. I have some construction experience, and I'm good with a hammer, and I can do these kind of things. And so I have confidence, going in my skill set. So I'm like, oh, I can do roofing, I can do general carpentry, I can do fine carpentry, I can do drywall, whatever they throw at me, I'm ready. I mean, as long as it's not like electric or plumbing, then I can't do those things. But everything else, I'm ready. So I'm confident going in, and we get in there, and they're like, okay, this is what you're gonna be doing. Electric and plumbing. And I'm sitting here, I'm just kind of like, not for me, not for me. Don't want to do it. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. I'd hurt myself, I'd get across the wires and I don't know. Or the whole plumbing in the house would break down and not work or something would happen. So I can't do this. Here's the other thing. We went to this church where we were staying at on the mission trip, and the church had a leak, and the whole inside of the church is being gutted out. That means it's being repaired and stripped and all this stuff. So the showers didn't work. And our sleeping area was filled with giant fans that were blowing on the floor to dry it, so we couldn't really sleep. And the bunk beds were stacked 3 high, and so I had to kind of get down to get into and I couldn't even sit up in the bed, and all these things, and I'm just kind of like thinking, not for me. Not for me. This mission trip, not for me. Challenges cause us to be cautious, and that's okay. But all these things, and then we went to the job site where we were actually working on the electric and plumbing work, and the house was just filled. Here's the situation. The woman's house had caught fire, and she was living in the trailer next door, and she'd been living there for a year with the rest of her family. There's like 5 of them in the trailer. And so all their stuff was in the house, and they were basically using the house as like a storage unit. So we go in there, and it's just packed high with like kids' toys, clothes, and there's no room to even work or move. And then we go down to the basement, and it's just filled with black mold, and I'm just kind of, not for me. Not for me, right? I mean, how many of you guys would think the same thing in these situations? I can't do electric. Who knows how to do that? I mean, some of you probably do. I can't be in a basement for hours on end with all this is hazardous to my health, These things are not for me. But God says something different to us. He says, these things are for you. This is the job he had given me this job. I felt like I went there and he's like, this is what you need to do. And so all these things, I'm kind of like, ugh, not for me. But the issue is, this not for me is a mentality that's dangerous. It's a dangerous mentality to have. Because if you say not for me, every single time something challenging comes into your life, well, number one, you don't live a very interesting life. And number two, you don't live a purposeful life. Because you have to take these challenges and accept them, okay? So take a leap of faith, for instance. And here's a story that I want to tell you. When we were kids, we would go camping with my family every Memorial Day. And our thing was we like to wander around the woods and name stuff. Like, this tree looks cool like a spider web, we're going to name it Tarantula Tree. You know what I mean? And we're like 10 years old or 12 years old at this time. And this big tree had fallen down. That tree is the snake tree. and then just different things. But we found basically a stream that was coming down the hill and emptied into a river, and it dropped off about 15 feet. But 15 feet to a 12-year-old is like 100 feet, right? Okay? And so the stream kind of like made like two areas, so there was a large gap in between. And our instinct was, let's jump it. Let's jump the gap, right? Coolest thing ever. And so we have to name it. Before we jump it, we'll name it. Let's call it the leap of faith. And so we named this jump the leap of faith because we might not make it. We might not survive. And so we all jumped over, and my brother actually, he almost fell down. And you know, if you land the right way on your head from 15 feet or 50 feet, it doesn't matter. You know, it's still a dangerous situation. But we all jumped over, and I was probably the least athletic of the three of us. So instead of jumping, you know, and landing on my feet, I jumped and kind of landed like on my face, like, and like hit. But the important thing is, even though I didn't do it very well, I still did it. Okay, my brother and my cousin, they jumped over, and I was just kind of like, not for me. Nah, I'm done. I'm scared. See you later, guys. I'm just going to go home. Doug, you have to jump across. Okay, and then I jumped, and it hurt a lot, but I did it. And I'm glad that I did. And this is what we have to do to the challenges that we're faced with. Okay? A leap of faith is not saying no, not for me, every time there's a challenge, okay? That's what this is. So you know the end of the story because you watched the ice bucket video of me getting the ice. I said not for me, but I got the ice poured on me anyway, okay? I said yes to that. And guess what? The electric and the plumbing work got done. I went down into the basement every day, and Charlie Wells went with me, and we put down little hangers up on all the pipes and things. And Charlie, he just loved being in the basement. That's a joke. He didn't like it at all. And the thing about the basement is it's about 6-foot basement, and I'm about 5'10", so I fit in there pretty perfectly. Well, Charlie Wells is about 6'2", and so he's down in the basement like, you know, like this, because he's a little taller. But we went down there, black mold or not, because this job needed to be done because these people didn't have water in their house at all. These people didn't have electric in their house. We had to install these things. The challenge came, we said yes. The electric work got done, the plumbing work got done. The family, we got them a new kitchen, kitchen cabinets, refrigerator, stove, installed a sink, lots of things like this, and the kitchen just looked really nice by the end of the week. But what if we had said, not for me? What if we had said not for me and gone to a different job site? Sorry, site supervisor, we don't feel comfortable working in these situations. Can we get a different job? He would have said yes. We didn't have to do it. There's going to be situations in our lives where we're faced with a challenge and we can say no to the challenge. And we can go a different path. Okay? And who's to say we wouldn't have done something good for someone else? We would have. Someone else's house would have been fixed. But these people's wouldn't. And then the next group, what if they said not for me? And the next group, what if they said not for me? And this house wouldn't have gotten done. Okay? That's why this not for me cautiousness is dangerous, especially when you're a Christian, especially if you believe in Jesus. Say yes to mission work, to helping other people, to comforting, to loving, all of these things. We have to say yes. We have to say yes to people when they ask us. They say, help me. We say yes. I need volunteers to do a huge fundraiser. Yes. Have you seen the movie Yes Man? Anybody? As the guy says yes to everything or whatever. He always says yes. He says yes. Now, you can't say yes to everything because there are some challenges that are sometimes, for us, insurmountable. But we have to say yes more. We have to say yes more. Going on a mission trip. How many of you guys have ever been on one? Raise your hand if you've been on a mission trip. I got about 5, okay? 5 or 6 people. Here's the deal. When we say, hey, we're going on a mission trip this week, this month, and I'm looking around for volunteers, or someone else is organizing a mission trip and they're looking for volunteers and they're asking around, what we hear, or what you might hear, are people saying, oh, I'm just too busy. Nah, I have my vacation. I don't know how to do that kind of work. I'm not skilled. My health. I'm too young. I'm too old. I don't have the experience. All of these things that you are saying are excuses. You are saying, not for me. But here's the deal. God goes with you. I didn't know how to do electric or plumbing work. God provided me someone who did. God provides, He has your back. And when you say, I'm too busy, you're really saying, God is too busy. When I'm saying I'm too young, you're really saying God's too young. God's too old. God doesn't have the experience. I'm not good enough to do that. You're saying God isn't good enough to do that. Because here's the deal. When you go, God goes with you. He supports you. He helps you. The showers were fixed by day 3. God did that. Okay? God did that. The excuses that we have don't hold any water. They really don't. They really do not hold any. Because God does the work, not us. God shares the love, not us. God is the comforter, the leader, the helper. He's the one that does the things. And if you simply say, God, use me however you want to, here I am, then you can do all the things that you thought you never could do because of how much He loves us, how much He helps us. This is why He did it. Jesus helped people before He told them about God. Before He told them about the kingdom of heaven, this is what Jesus did. He came down to earth, and He didn't go up to someone and He said, hey, let me tell you about the kingdom of heaven. My name's Jesus. Here's a pamphlet. Okay? There's churches today, right? Let me knock on your door. Hello. Let me tell you about our church. It's this, it's this, it's this. Come on down sometime. It's great. And I'm sure it is. But what is Jesus doing in the Bible? He's going to people individually, and He's helping them with their physical need first. Okay? He heals them, then He talks to them. He heals the leper. He heals the blind man. He helps people with whatever physical issue that they have. And after He does that, He shares about the kingdom of heaven. If we followed His example, we would be helping people with love and comfort, mission work and service, and then, after we help them, say, also, I know this great guy. His name's Jesus. I can introduce you to him. That's the thing. So many times, we're introducing Jesus without helping people first. We got it a little bit backwards. It's interesting that I was reading the Bible verse before, and I'm going to read it to you again. This is what it is. You know the generous grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. Though He was rich, yet for your sakes He became poor, so that by His poverty He could make you rich. I'm going to read that again. Listen to it. Though He was rich, for your sake He became poor, so that by His poverty He could make you rich. People misinterpret this because they think it's about money. Jesus will make you rich. Prosperity gospel. Okay? No, this is not what it's about. Though He was rich in life. He lived a life so great, so important. Everywhere He went, He helped other people. He was rich in life. He lived life to the fullest. And He was so rich in life. For us, for your sakes, He became poor. He became poor on the cross. That's what it was. For us, He put Himself on the cross. That's what He did. So that by His poverty, we can become rich. We can live life to the fullest through Him because of what He did on the cross. Jesus died on the cross so that we could say, not for me. No! Jesus died on the cross so that we can say yes. So that we can say yes. Because if we say yes, that's us helping other people just like he helped them. This not for me thing, it's got to be done, okay? If you have the right mentality and you believe and you have faith enough that you can do whatever you like, you've got to say yes. And stop saying not for me. Some people hear the gospel message that I just shared with you about Jesus dying on the cross so that we could live, and they hear this beautiful message and they say, not for me. And I say, you are so wrong, because it was for you. You just don't know it yet. It was for you. It was for you. Not for me. It was. It was for you. People don't know that. We've got to tell them. We've got to tell them. God is so great, we have to tell people. That's what this dude who gave me this book, he was so excited, he sat right next to me. He looked at my Bible, which was sitting on my table at Waffle House. I wouldn't have even been there if I didn't have to work. I would have gone to Chipotle and never got this book. But I went to Waffle House because I worked. If I didn't have to work, I wouldn't have gone. I didn't have to sit in that spot. I could have sat somewhere else. But I sat there. And he could have sat somewhere else. But he sat right next to me. All of these things, they don't happen by coincidence. I'm supposed to read this book. Okay? I wanted so badly to buy a meal for someone, and my meal was purchased by this guy. And he said, well, now you go ahead and pay it forward. And then he left. And I got down to writing. 5 minutes later, someone sat next to me, and he said, can I pay with dimes? He said, can I pay with dimes? I can only afford a cup of coffee. And he held out his hand to the woman and said, can I pay with dimes? And I said, you didn't just sit there for no reason. You sat there because God wanted you to sit there. He wants me to pay for your meal. And he didn't just get a cup of coffee. He got the full Waffle House breakfast, okay? I paid for his meal. And God made all of that happen, not by coincidence. Not by coincidence. With him, all things are possible. Believe it. Believe that these things happen. Believe that they can happen to you, and believe in the cross and what it did. Believe it, and tell other people about it. And don't say, not for me. Hold the raisin bread. Don't say it. Say yes to God. Say yes to what he can do in your life, and share that with other people. Can I get an amen? Amen. So can I get an amen? Amen. All right.